Danny Baker's Breakfast Show. Weekday mornings from 6. Danny Baker on BBC London 94.9.
English as tuppence and changing, yet changeless as canal water, armoured and effete, nestling in green nowhere, Opsimath and Eremite, Miss Havishambling feudal still, the BBC London 94.9 Breakfast Show. Good morning, everybody. So we started with 12 films. I'm piling on the pressure. Next week we're doing it with television, I think. I think it's television next week. We'll find that out. I'll make a decision. But we're doing it with films now, and what we ask you to do is connect yourselves in some way, no matter how tenuous, with the films that were on our list. The films were The Godfather, Lord of the Rings, Spinal Tap, Goodfellas, Willy Wonka, The Producers, Sound of Music, Pulp Fiction, Life of Brian, Taxi Driver, and Gone with the Wind. By the end of the morning, the film that's had the last response, the last person to come in and connect themselves with a film, will no longer be regarded as a great film. So no matter what it is, it could have been Pulp Fiction, and every time it's mentioned from now on, we'll say, oh, our audience doesn't like that. They were very slow to respond. We've had ticks against most of them. At the moment now, the race is between the three still waiting for somebody to connect themselves with or give us a story about: Lord of the Rings, Goodfellas, and The Producers. The big money around here is on Lord of the Rings. That's what we want it to be. We can't bear if The Producers or Goodfellas is not regarded as a great film. But we'll see how this all plays out. In the meantime, we have sitting across from me, esteemed and pressed and esteemed guest. And probably our most returning guest. Mr. Whatever that means for either of our careers, I don't know. But
what
Mr.
do you mean the most returning guest? I come again to
like a returning officer. You're back, like a genie out of a trap. It's Nicholas sitting opposite. Why, it's like yesterday. Good morning, Nicholas, of course.
Good morning, Danny. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. And,
keeping up the good work as ever.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Right, sparky at this hour in the morning.
Oh, it's a living. What can I tell, as you know? But the thing is, you always make me feel like the third world when you come in, because there you are. We were celebrating. Some people call those askets or neckerchiefs or cravats. Of course, cravat would be an accepted term. Is there a certain age that you can start to wear a cravat? Because I don't think
No, I've been wearing them all my life.
Have you really? Even Absolutely. As a younger man, yeah.
Oh yes. I suppose when one was. No, I mean they were very fashionable in the 20s.
Yeah, but people try to affect them now, and I don't. I see men of 30 wearing. You think, oh come on, there's a certain gravitas must go with a neckerchief that only few people can get away with.
Well, I have said in other shows and so forth that I try to bring the cravat back because I think it's a very elegant form of dress, but I've been unsuccessful so far. Nobody's followed, so now I just use it as my own sort of personal fashion statement.
Well, and hats off to you. We were celebrating it the other day, and of course there is a difference between what you're wearing and the neckerchief, which had a kind of a ring around it. Didn't the Patrick Cargill affect that for quite a while? Never quite the same. Too sporty for me. That.
Well, it was a cravat really with a ring round it. That's all. They pulled it. Just made it look a different shape.
Well, yes, it is. But
my show in Edinburgh every year, the Happy Hour, which I do for 3 weeks.
Certainly, I know.
I have a different cravat for every show almost.
How many do you think you own?
Exactly. It took the words out of my mouth. How many do you believe you own?
Oh, I've only got about 2 dozen cravats, but when it comes to ties, I've never thrown a tie away from my childhood.
Really?
Counting the other day.
You've literally got the old school tie from old Narkover, have you?
No. Even the non-school ties, the little informal ties that one wore. I counted them the other day. I've got 400 or 500. There's a woman who does fashion shows. I phoned up because I'm one of these people. I had difficulty getting rid of things, and I've got all these suits I used to have when I was doing Sale of the Century and everything, and they're in pristine condition, most of them. I can't get rid of them. I phoned up Berman's, a big costume.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And I said, a lot of them are sort of period now, sort of 60s and 70s. No, they weren't interested. But I suppose... You
know why this might be? And one of my... I've got very few hobby horses, but one of them is whenever anyone, even in this day and age, try to pastiche a game show, they put the host in a spangly jacket. Now, children must wonder why this is. It's just an accepted wisdom. But nobody really wore spangly jackets. You see any pastiche, any of these, absolutely. And so they probably think, well, you could say, no, this is what a game show in the 70s wore, a host in the 70s wore. Oh, no, we want the spangly jacket and the curtain behind glittering. Nobody ever did that.
No.
And they're turning down I'm saying the Nicholas Parsons collection, the archive, and they're turning that sort of stuff down.
Yeah, so I phoned up Sotheby's in the end. I thought I'll try it. Do you have a fashion department? Yes, they do. They were interested. No, but we don't do it anymore, but we can put you on a woman who used to work with us, who now has fashion auctions. I spoke to her. She was quite interested. I've got to take them on our show. But when I mentioned I had about 500 ties do indicate period changes of style and anything else. There's the broad ones, the wide ones, the very ones, the kipper ties and so forth, very narrow, very sort of straight.
Absolutely,
and she said, oh, I'd love to have those.
Oh, so are you going to bequeath them, or are you too attached?
I'm a bit attached.
I'd have thought so.
And actually, you can keep those quite easily. They don't need much storage space.
Mark, have you still got your old school tie?
No, I set fire to it.
Did you? I probably did something like that. I was online the other day, and there's only, I went to a comprehensive school top of Deptford High Street, but there's a little website for it now. Of course there is. And I went there, and there it was, the badge of the tie. And I've got to say, I swallowed something hard and jagged and wiped a bit of grit out of my eye, and I wish I still had it. You still got yours?
I have the two, and also it was fashionable when I was at school to pull threads out, and so you had little black dotted lines going through.
Girls usually, when they leave, all sign the shirt and stuff.
Oh, yeah, got that. And also you had to wear it the other way round. You had to have the thin end at the front. And just a tiny little bit.
This seems bizarre to me. It seems almost cultish.
I know, it was.
Seems like a cult you belong to rather than a school. Seems like a cult.
Talking about school ties, mine was a formal black tie.
Yeah.
I was at St Paul's school. It was a bit formal and black. But the old school tie was the one you wore after you left school.
Yes, of course, there's all of that.
These are all colourful ties from all different...
Were you ever choy-wicked as a schoolboy on your way to St Paul's? Did the local roughs ever...
No, I used to rough them up if they got to...
Were you a tough kid yourself? You did a bit of boxing,
I was at a boxing school.
I know, I remember.
St Paul's was the champion boxing school.
I remember you
They've stopped it all now.
Yeah, well, Henry Cooper sat where you are just yesterday.
Yeah.
Henry Cooper was in here yesterday.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
He was being...
And it was very well organised because they always used to match the boys up according to their ability, so they didn't put somebody who was much stronger against somebody who's much weaker. And we learned self-defence, and it is a very useful thing. But you didn't. No, it didn't happen the same way.
Could you take a licking, as they say, or did you dish them out?
I did very well. I got cups and all medals and things for boxing, yes.
Oh.
People look at me because I've got a rather soft, very sort of ordinary face. They always think people who are boxers are pug ugly. They're not.
No.
Not the good ones.
No, exactly. That's exactly. That speaks volumes.
I mean,
here we are.
Muhammad Ali is very handsome.
Taking advantage of our assumed relationship here, we're getting over the fact that we're all gathered this morning. Well, we'll get around to it in a moment, perhaps.
But I've always found that in your show, Danny.
No,
you eventually get round to it before you go. But why you actually ask me in?
Exactly. Because, as I often say, Nicholas, it's very unlikely we'd have got together this morning without the microphones and the aerial on the roof, isn't it? So, why are we here? What are we doing?
I don't know. I come in to admire your artificial flowers. I mean,
people think it's a
myth.
Who
loves gardening and loves real flowers. I mean, I'm a little bit turned off by all these...
What we lack in Lord Reith, we gain in the Wizard of Oz. I always find around here. That's exactly where we are.
You have got some real flowers up there beside your turntable.
These are real. The only man does this every morning. But you've got some kind of show, some kind of... what are you, hawking a line in ties? Why are we gathered this morning? Are you here to do...
I'm glad you know why you asked me.
Well, otherwise I'm robbed of my natural curiosity.
There's a little programme called Just a Minute.
Oh, you're still hawking that around. One series, two series now? How many years, Big Gang?
37 years.
37 years. The only show that can look at it, I'm sorry I haven't a clue, and say, oh, well, you'll
And the only show that hasn't yet asked Danny Baker to be a guest on.
Thank you.
I think he'd do it very well.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But maybe one day... But there are so many people keen to come on a show which has now got a sort of cult following. No, the principal reason today is because the BBC, in their wisdom, a brilliant idea, decided to bring out Just a Classic Minute.
Oh, very good.
And they discovered that they have all the recordings in the archive somewhere. I thought only a few had been kept. And so they've taken
them all.
one. Yeah, I think it's the World Service who kept them or something.
Good for them.
And they've taken one from each decade, one from the 60s, one from the 70s, 80s and 90s, and we put them all together, and there's two different cassettes, there's a double cassette, and I've written the introduction to each one.
Oh, yeah.
Talked about the history of Just a Minute, and illustrated with each recording how it's evolved, developed and so forth, because no show can survive unless it...
without doubt. I mean, but are you easy with that? I mean, when they said, right, okay, listen to the early shows, did you do it sort of out of the room thinking, oh, how did we sound then? Was it, because I could imagine going back certainly over 37 years, you think we were so either stiff or we didn't have the rhythms and all of this. Did it sound different?
Your perception is amazing.
Thank
That's
you,
exactly what happened. No, I wasn't embarrassed. I just thought it'll be very interesting. I was really looking forward to hearing some of the early ones and was amazed. I knew instinctively how it had evolved and developed because I've been part of that and encouraging the different evolution and so forth. And as the new and younger generation of comedians have come in, have been sharper and quicker and so forth.
On the earliest one on there, who are the guests on the earliest one?
Well, the Clement Freud was on the original, and Derek Nimmo.
Of course, Derek Nimmo, of course, yeah.
And the pilot show was Beryl Reid and a woman called Wilma Hewitt. And she wasn't a professional performer, but she was a very witty lady. Beryl was lost, even though she's a brilliant performer. They didn't want the series, and the producer at the time, David Hatch, saw potential. It wasn't all that very good. I wasn't going to be the chairman, originally. Jimmy Edwards.
Oh, Professor! When we come back, I'll tell you an extraordinary story. I'll tell you an extraordinary story.
I was going to be on the panel. It's lovely. You don't really finish a sentence.
No, because I've got to go over the travel. I've got to go over the travel. There are people out there saying Jimmy Edwards is all very good, but what about the Willesden bypass? Is what they're saying. Lucky enough for this half hour, good enough to be with us, wit, raconteur, wicker-bottom chair repairer, Mr. Nicholas Parsons, and we were touching on the genesis of... now I'm only thinking of Jimmy Edwards' show we were discussing just during the break there. Does the Team Think actually came up during that little because we're celebrating the, what do they call it, classic, just a minute?
Just a classic minute.
Just a classic minute.
Just a classic minute. And we were discussing...
You wanted to know about the beginnings, because Jimmy, I was going to be on the panel, which I wanted to do and show off my ability, because I did a lot of comedy in those days, in cabaret and so forth, and ad-libbing, and Jimmy was never free on a Sunday to record the pilot. He was always playing polo. So the producer, David Hatch, said, well, you do the chair. I said, no, I don't want it. I'm not right for it. Please, I don't want to do the job. But anyway, we did this pilot. It wasn't all that successful. And David Hatch had a hell of a job getting a series. And he said, well, listen, I've got the series, but he said, they like the way you did the chairmanship, so you're stuck with it. And so there was I without a job. And listening to the very first... And they actually had the very first pilot, and it's not very good.
No, they usually
actually, the rules weren't even refined. I mean, they were sort of strange, like repetition was more like a repetition of the thought. It was all very unrefined, and it was very and there was sort of utterly haphazard in their way, and it was rather laid back, and it was trying to be sort of clever and witty, and so forth. And slowly it's evolved. And I said, no, I don't think we can do the original pilot, because it really, if someone happened to listen to that one first, they said, this isn't much cop, is it? But
even so, 37 years in, and certainly the devotees, to say the least.
He played it as an archival thing and said, listen to this. This is how that show has evolved from that. But we took it from the first series, in which, of course, we had Kenneth Williams in by then, and he was very good and original. And so, but the way... listening to the shows from the 60s, the way it's developed and evolved is absolutely amazing.
Well, that is the fun of it. I mean, but it's obviously not unique in them. I mean, even such lauded and august shows as Hancock and the Goon Show, if you listen to the early ones, they bear very little relation to the legend. But interesting to say the least. And I've got
the biggest challenge of all was that I was asked by the producer, a lovely fellow down in Bath, Stuart, that to do the... I had to write, I was in commission to write an introduction to each of the recordings. And so to write something different about each one, and also something applicable. I heard the different tapes, and I wrote something personal about each particular tape to introduce it. And there are 8 shows on this first double cassette, and of course there are 8 on the ones that are coming out later in the year.
Oh, okay.
And the first ones were launched, this first Just a Classic Minute.
Just a Classic Minute.
Who can we hear on them? I mean, they must have cherry-picked some of the best guests.
Oh, yes. We listened to them all and chose ones which had also got interesting guests. There's some lovely names on them. I mean, on the first one, you've got, the 3 of the originals, of course, Peter Jones, Derek Nimmo, Clement Freud, and Kenneth Williams. But you've got Stephen Fry, and, because that was the later one, Peter Cook. There's a wonderful one with Peter Cook.
Oh, is there?
Peter Cook.
And there's another one with... have you got the list there?
Yeah,
certainly.
There we are. On the first lot that's coming out, you've got another one with Peter Cook, another one with Peter Cook and Barry Victoria Wood, and Wendy Richard and Stephen Fry. But they're all different generations.
Now, you touched upon there Professor Jimmy Edwards, who was mooted to take the show over, and...
No, he wasn't. He wasn't available.
That's what I'm saying. But his name was in the frame, but he wasn't available to take it over. That's what I'm saying. So, because he was doing Does the Team Think? What kind of man was Jimmy Edwards? Did you work much with Jimmy?
I did with Jimmy. I got to know him quite well, actually. He was an absolute character. He's not the comic who had his set script. He wasn't a joke man. In fact, he said once he's not a joke man. And I'll tell you a lovely little anecdote about Jimmy. I was a resident comedian at the Windmill Theatre, the famous Windmill, for a time. And that was a tough number, because it was all a male audience there, because the ladies didn't come until the evening. Did 6 shows a day, 6 days a week. And you always followed the fan dance, so a lot of people were always waiting to do it. And there was always this movement as they could... It was run like a cinema, for those who don't know the Windmill, so that as people left, the other ones could move down if they wanted to, the better seats near the front. But the most successful comedian they ever had there was Jimmy Edwards. And the point was, Jimmy never had a set act. act.
No.
He'd come on that stage, sit down with a newspaper, and he just insulted the audience.
Oh, really?
And of course, you know, some people, if you do it in a certain way, and Jimmy had that manner to get away and tell them, you know, what Charlies they all were, you know, and how starved they were of obvious normal sexual lives and the things. I mean, he ogled all the girls and read things out from the paper, and he just ad-libbed his way through it, and he was, without doubt, he got the best reaction, because if you're going to come out, I mean, the most depressing thing was you come out, see that audience, you come out, second show, come out, there's some of the same people, third show, still some of the same faces, fourth show, and even the fifth show, still some of the same faces. They've been there all day, you know, doing all kinds of dirty things, I'm sure, and the match, waiting for the girls to come back.
So you had to
try and keep that same audience laughing with material they didn't want to see in the first place, and with material that you already heard 3 or 4 times. I mean, to be able to
it's the kind of stuff that today is dignified by phrases like ad-libbing and workshop, but in fact it was just fighting for your life on the stage of the Windmill. You better have something to say. I was saying, I picked up this LP of Jimmy Edwards. It's an LP celebrating the Evening Standard Pub of the Year 1973, the Pied Bull in Streatham. If anyone can tell us if the Pied Bull's still operating, let us know. And it's an extraordinary LP. It's just him, as you say. He seems to be picking out members of the audience and not doing any rehearsed patter. That's clear. He says, the sausage rolls have arrived. Sausage rolls. Oh, the fellow over there, you've had enough, sir. No, it's a lady, is it? Okay, well, now I'll get me old trombone, open the spit valve, and there's this huge rod. Who knows what he's doing with the spit valve, but he just rambles on, and before you know it, the LP's over, and you've had a thundering good time.
A great gift. Yeah. I mean, a personality larger than life. I mean, when he had a scripted show like Take It From Here on the radio, I mean, it was Jimmy to a T. I mean, this is where Muir and Norton were so brilliant in their writing. But it could have been Jimmy ad-libbing. I bet he did sort of embroider around some of the lines anyway.
Well, I'm sure of it. And this is something we occasionally do on the show, if you don't mind, Nicholas. We get people's... and believe me, there's no inference or side to this. I'm pulling these out of the air. On the Internet Movie Database, on the internet there, they tend to have everything from everyone's career, rather like the CV. And sometimes you just look at stuff that I don't recognise and see if you have any memory at all of some of these things. So we'll go back quite a few years now. Do you remember... being in a show called what is this? The Master of Bank Dam. Do you remember?
The Master of Bank Dam, yes.
Yeah, you remember that?
The first film I ever made. Tom Walls, the famous farceur with Flynn, he was now a serious actor, and it was a thing set in Trouble at Mill time.
Oh, was it? And you played?
And I played a young architect who was a bit shady, and I'd done something rather naughty and so forth.
Did you play it Northern?
No, I played it straight, because he would come from the upper class. It was very much a class thing. And I remember the scene I had with Tom Walls and Stephen. Who's now dead. They're all dead now except me. Jimmy Hanley was in it, David Tomlinson.
Oh, let's just move on, because I'd like to rattle through this if you could. You're in Carlton Brown of the FO, of course.
That was much later, of course.
Yes, of course. I'm just pulling these out of the air.
And the Carlton Brown, that was Peter Sellers was in that, and John Le Mesurier.
Would you like to have done more film work? Because...
Oh, yes, I would.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, at that time, I was just on the verge of it, because with the Boltings, they put me under contract for a year. They did put me under contract. And the Boltings were very loyal. There was the sort of same team with Carry-Ons. They always had the same people back, and very loyal to Bolting Brothers. If they could find a part for one of their sort of repertory players, they did. And I was in about 6 or 7 Bolting Brothers films. The biggest part I had was in a film called Brothers-in-Law, which has been out once or twice.
Yes, certainly, yeah.
And Richard Attenborough and
the other fellow we were talking about a moment ago, who's
Ian Carmichael.
Hesitation, Bing.
Ian Carmichael, Richard Attenborough, and Terry Thomas. Terry Thomas did a lot of films for the Bolting Brothers.
And of course, I say that in the past tense, but I suppose your head is available for any film work.
And the rest of my body as well.
At a bigger fee, of course. But when you were under contract for a year, was it they found you hard to cast because you've always been hard to say? Well,
no.
Nicholas Parsons does this.
It was the other way around. They didn't want you to be taken by other companies.
Oh, I see, right, okay.
I mean, the Rank, just after the war, Rank Films had what they call their charm school. They used to find youngsters to groom them, as they did in Hollywood. And it was a case of they were their artists, and they used to find parts for them so as to keep them. I mean, nowadays, there was a thing, if you worked for ITV, you would say, you're an ITV player. And so the BBC didn't employ you. But people didn't put them under exclusive contract. A few individuals today are under exclusive contract.
But not like the old style.
No, we're all freelance.
Again, I leap from branch to branch here, and I'm going to ask you a fair question.
I wonder sometimes the branches don't give way.
Here's a straight question to you. Have you ever worked nude? Have you ever worked nude? In every actor's CV, there may be some will work. Have you ever, on occasion?
I've never been asked, and I don't mind showing my body.
And if the part was right?
It's not one to be embarrassed about. I haven't got floppy bits that hang in the wrong places.
No, but you never been on occasion. There's not.
When I was young, there was very little nudity. As a matter of fact, I mean, the nearest thing I've got to sort of sexual activity was in there's a wonderful play.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Yes,
a wonderful play called Boeing.
Oh yes, Boeing.
Which I played the lead in the West End for 15 months, and there was all these pretty girls. I was kissing them all the way through, and it was tremendous fun. But it is actually a very technical process kissing somebody. As I tell the stories in my one-man show, because you have to concentrate on what you're doing. Because if you get carried away, the whole play falls apart. You know, you have to go into the clinch the right way and come out at the right moment to get the timing right. But
now audiences can tell if someone's
I've often thought when I watch those sort of very explicit scenes on the cinema, how they actually do it, because it really is. I actually don't enjoy them because I think it's making me a voyeur.
You must have been the only person in the Rocky Horror Show, though, that dressed in normal gear.
But not at the end.
Not at the end, not at the end of the ground, of course.
But then you get to...
that's the great punchline, of course.
That was about the nearest I've got to explicitness. So certainly some of my language...
You've done drag, I take it, many times.
Some of my language was fairly explicit in that. But, no, I don't know how they
drag,
do it in this.
By the way, you've done drag, I take it quite a few times. I've done pantomime.
If playing dame in pantomime's drag, but that's not true drag. It's not true drag, because there you're dressed up as a woman, but you're letting them know all the time. That's when a successful dame lets them know, I'm a fella dressed up and having a bit of fun. Okay. I'm laughing at myself.
Yeah, it's a cartoon. It's a big old cartoon. If you had to say the most uncomfortable job you've ever done, is there one job you thought either through personally you didn't enjoy it, or you wore a suit, or perhaps you had to be covered in muck? Is there one job you thought, oh, that was a day's work? Is there one film?
Well, yes, but it turns out more by chance than anything. It isn't a sort of thing. It's not in the script. You think, my God, I've got to do that.
No, but Arthur Haynes must have covered you in some stuff in his time, didn't he?
Yes, I got covered in everything in that at different times. But I think the most uncomfortable one was when I was in Doctor Who, and I was playing a very serious role as the vicar in The Curse of Fenric, which was the most successful Doctor Who they've ever had, and it's now being reissued and so forth. Get little checks coming in from all over Africa and Asia and so forth. And but we had one scene, and we were filming in April, and you know, in our country sometimes if you've had a mild winter, you get the snow in April.
Yes, of course.
And we were filming in an army camp out at in Surrey, and it was desperately cold, and the snow was on the ground suddenly, and all the camera crew were in duffel coats and hats and mittens and everything. And the dear doctor, were Victor Sylvester McCoy, were in very thin clothes. And now by this time, again towards the end of the film, but all the people had got all the runes which were written in the crypt of my church were coming out, and all the you read the plot, and all the villagers were turning into haemovores and so forth. I didn't know what the hell it was all about. The Rocky Horror fans loved it, and I then now were going for me, you see, and I tried to keep them at bay, and they had to come at me, and now the snow had turned into slush. I was shivering, we were shaking at one. We had to cut the filming at one point. Go back inside and thaw out.
You see, in America, getting chilblains like that is a lawsuit and 120.
Let me finish the story.
We're 8:30.
Danny Branch jumper. Let me finish the story.
You've got 10 seconds to finish the story.
10 seconds. And then the haemovores come. I said, no, I believe you're going to come. And they have to come straight at me. And they do. And the director was delighted. They knocked me over, pushed me down, and the slush on the ground was they actually trod on me, and I went right into this slush, and I came up covered in mud and filth. I was shivering and cold, and the director said, cut! Marvellous, right, over here, we're going to carry on now. And they left me right into the
Well, if there's anything worth holding the news up, it was the idea of you being trampled into the slush. Forgive me for that. Tell us why he's earned his corn for that. Go on,
Just a Classic Minute Volume 1. It's out now. You can order it by calling BBC Audiobooks, and the number is 0800 136 919.
Okay, and how about this?